all the major villains encountered by Radiant Black. Kyle Higgins and Marcelo Costa are the creators of the currently ongoing superhero comic book series Radiant Black, which is published by Image Comics. Most notably, the series is renowned for its original approach to the superhero genre. The comic centers on Nathan Burnett, a young man who struggles with both his personal life and his writing job in Los Angeles. However, he turns into the superhero known as Radiant Black after moving back home and finding an extraterrestrial artifact that endows him with superhuman abilities. Throughout the course of the series, Nathan will have to master the use of his abilities, discover the meaning behind the alien relic, and battle a variety of enemies, both human and alien, with the help of his friend Marshall. This video delves into all the villains we have seen so far in the Radiant Black comics. The information is sparse as most of the villains are shrouded in mystery, but here is a rundown of what we actually know. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Radiant Red. We have to start with Radiant Red, the first being with superpowers that Radiant Black faced off against. Considering that Radiant Red is quite similar to Radiant Black as we can tell from their costumes, we can safely assume they have received their powers from the same source, the Existence. This is solidified in later issues when Radiant Red teams up with Radiant Black, Radiant Yellow, and Radiant Pink, making them a group of people with similar powers. While most of the other Radiants use their powers for good, Radiant Red was introduced in the comic series as a bank robber, someone who wanted to use their powers for their own advantage. Radiant Red shows absolute apathy for people and city infrastructure in general, being more than happy to go on a destructive rampage. In fact, Radiant Black and Radiant Red confront each other on multiple occasions and major areas are destroyed due to their tussle. Unfortunately, it is during one such confrontation between the two that Nathan, Radiant Black, is heavily injured and goes into a coma, prompting Marshall to accept the Radiant and becomes Radiant Black while his friend is transported to a hospital. This shows that Radiant Red is extremely powerful and ruthless. However, her backstory will make you sympathize with her. Over the course of the series, we learn that Radiant Red is a middle school teacher named Satomi Sone, hailing from Romeoville, Illinois. He is a diligent teacher and has a fiancé, but it turns out that the couple had money problems, which led her to pursuing a life of crime, robbing banks, and hoping to fix their monetary situation. Issue 6 of Radiant Black does a deep dive into her life and problems, where we see that her fiancé Owen has lost a lot of money trying to set up his business and also seems to have a gambling problem. Their credit situation is so bad that banks refuse to loan them any money, and she also finds out that Owen has drained her personal savings as well. All of this, coupled with her receiving the Radiant, propels her into a life of crime in order to make ends meet and ensure that they don't lose their house and livelihood. Coming to her superpowers, they are incredibly cool. She is able to absorb matter and grow into a gigantic battle robot more than 5 times her own size. This makes her a formidable opponent for anyone, let alone Radiant Black. In her destructive battle robot form, she has immense physical strength, and boy does she pack a punch. Further, in her Radiant form, her costume glows with red accents that distinguish her from the other Radiants. However, even though Radiant Red started off as a villain, going so far as to put Nathan in a coma, she does get a redemption arc in the series. She turns herself in and even gets sentenced to prison time for 7 years. Not only this, but she also apologizes to Marshall for hurting Nathan so badly and insists that she only wanted to scare him, nothing else. She seems to turn a leaf as she even willingly assists the team of Radiants in fighting against a giant alien robot that shows up at around issue 21. In fact, her character is so cool that it even got its own spin-off miniseries that delves deeper into her personal life, struggles, and family issues. If you like Radiant Black, then definitely check this one out. 001 Cosmic Slash. 001, otherwise dubbed as Cosmic Slash by Radiant Black, is a villain that showed up in issue number 5 of Radiant Black. This villain first appears as a pixelated and hooded character looking quite similar to Radiant Black himself. He threatens all the Radiants and tells them that they have something that does not belong to them. He is likely referring to the Radiant powers and begins ruthlessly attacking the 4 Radiants. His weapon of choice are 2 swords, and he gives no further explanation about his actions before he starts slashing away at them. The power difference between Cosmic Slash and the Radiants is extremely evident as he pummels them and strikes them relentlessly. Radiant Pink quickly realizes that she has to get them out of the situation and regroup, thus she quickly teleports the Radiants away. However, they are immediately followed by Cosmic Slash. They keep teleporting and end up in space, where they see various gadgets, spaceships, weapons, and gigantic robots floating in space. They manage to teleport out before the robots charging at them get the opportunity to strike, and Cosmic Slash pursues Radiant Red and Yellow to an unnamed location. They manage to hold him back, but not for long before he starts attacking them once again. When Radiant, Black, and Pink also show up in the scene, Cosmic Slash finally introduces himself as 001, a being marked for death. He believes that the Radiants were doomed to their planet and thus had come to eradicate them. His only purpose? To protect the Radiants. However, in a weird turn of events, before they engage in battle once again, a gigantic robot arm shoots out from Radiant Black's chest, grabs hold of Cosmic Slash, and drags him into the Radiant Black suit. Marshall meets Cosmic Slash once again when he ventures into existence to look for Nathan because he believes that he can save his friend in issue number 10. It turns out that the robot living within existence had made a deal with 001. The deal was that he was to help Marshall navigate existence, and when he inevitably failed in his mission to retrieve Nathan, 001 would retrieve his Radiant. However, to 001's shock, Marshall succeeded in retrieving his friend. Shift. Shift is one of the main overarching villains in the entire series. He shows up as the mastermind behind most of the attacks on the Radiants carried out by his team of villains and mercenaries that include Excel, Sheer, and Doppler. In fact, he is the one that leads the charge against Marshall, deciding to hunt him down and kill him so that they are able to take the Radiant for themselves. His costume has neon green accents and a hood, and Shift, as his name suggests, is a villain who can teleport. This teleportation ability, coupled with his superb combat skills, make him an incredibly tough opponent to take down in a fight. We see him fight Radiant Black on multiple occasions, and the two of them begin to develop a hero-villain dynamic that is extensively used as a plot device in the series. It is shown that Shift only cares about himself and his team, but he is also shown to be incredibly smart. He plans the entire ambush on Marshall as part of his plan to hunt him down and take his Radiant. When Marshall is defeated by Mecha, Shift even offers him a deal, asking him to charge their villain suits in exchange for 10% of all their illegal earnings, essentially asking him to become a sellout. Radiant Black refuses, and Nathan and Marshall, working together, take Shift down in an epic battle. What can be understood from this character is that Shift deeply embraces the ideas of capitalism. He believes that money is king and that there is nothing wrong with exploiting sensitive situations for personal gain. This obviously makes him a target, and the government contacts Radiant Black and asks him to capture Shift on their behalf. Nathan and Marshall track down Shift to a diner, and Nathan sits down to have a conversation with him. It is via this conversation that we learn the true extent of Shift's activities. Shift was selling 001 weapons technology that they had managed to obtain, and this began causing panic among people. He believed that the end was coming, something much bigger than anything mankind could have ever imagined, and he was simply profiting off of it for as long as he could. He admitted that they did not really understand the weapons, but knew enough to make them work, saying that he was doing his bit, arming people so that they would stand a chance when the end came. He also showed Nathan a picture of a familiar-looking gigantic extraterrestrial robots that the Radiants had encountered in space, and claimed that they were coming to destroy the Earth. After this exchange, he attacks Nathan, and Marshall springs into action to save his friend. The two of them work together once again and defeat Shift, handing him over to the government. So far in the series, Shift's real name and origin story has not been revealed, so it will definitely be interesting to see what the creators will do with this character. Shift has been quite prominent in the series so far, and thus it is safe to assume that he will be involved with the events of Radiant Black even after having been taken into custody. Doppler. This one is a sonic-powered villain who has multiple run-ins with Radiant Black. Wearing a black suit that has zigzag lines for a mouth, Doppler was actually a regular woman named Anya Rania. In fact, we see her grading term papers as a student walks up to her car in Radiant Black issue number 11. We learn that she is trying to complete her PhD and is a professor at the university. Now, considering that this comic series has a penchant for humanizing all the villains, we quickly learn that Anya is a musician who has a SoundCloud account and loves to play the cello. However, something is stopping her from doing what she loves. It is revealed that she has essential tremors, a medical condition that impacts her ability to play the cello, and unfortunately, once her insurance stopped covering discovering her focused ultrasound therapy, she did not have much choice but resort to dubious methods, since the Doppler tech was the only thing capable of keeping her tremors under control, allowing her to work. In issue 11, she is seen working with a clandestine group of people who are aware of the powers of the Radiants and also seem to be working with weapons and gadgets. They are also aware of her powers and use her sonic abilities to charge up and use a large device that can modulate sound and transmute it into other energies. This device can also apparently shoot, so it is used for offensive purposes, and Anya, thanks to her sonic abilities, is able to wield it since she treats it delicately as if she were playing an instrument. Doppler and Radiant Black get into a fight once again in this issue, which results in her damaging homes and other public infrastructure, and that visibly upsets her since she does not consider herself to be a destructive villain. However, when she does showcase the true extent of her powers, they are glorious. She is able to control the sound waves that are all around us at all times by virtue of things making sound and using them as weapons. Further, she only gets more and more powerful around the Radiants since her suit charges from their radiant energy. Radiant Black, however, ends up defeating her in battle, but lets her go, seeing that she never actually meant them any harm. They face off against each other a couple of more times, and Radiant Black soon realizes that Doppler largely means no harm, even going so far as to fix her life and teach young prisoners music. It was unfortunate that she felt the need to apprehend Radiant Black to charge her suit. She later unfortunately teams up with other villains on this list, including the aforementioned Shift and other mercenaries named Excel, Sheer, and Mecha, to hunt down and kill Radiant Black. In fact, she is recruited into the team by Shift himself and has the most important task, the task to locate and subsequently incapacitate Radiant Black. Using her sonic powers, she locates him by tracking down his unique frequency. She then proceeds to make the crystals inside his ear, responsible for balance and gravity detection, vibrate, making him lose his balance and inducing vertigo. This makes him vulnerable to attacks and ends with him unconscious and wounded. However, she has a big redemption arc when she finally realizes that the people she had been associating with for so long are probably not the best. Hence, instead of killing Marshall and taking his Radiant, she whisks him away to safety as Nathan steps into the Radiant Black suit and deals with the rest of the villains. Doppler is a villain that you can't help but empathize with, and honestly, she is one of the most likable ones of the lot. Her powers are also super cool, making her a recurring character in the series so far. Excel was another one of the mercenaries who had gained powers using special suits and gadgets, thanks to the alien technology left behind by 001. He was originally a Brazilian soldier named João dos Santos, but clearly he decided to go down a less honorable path. His powers were extremely destructive in nature, as he was able to trigger explosions using nothing but his bare hands. He first came into conflict with Radiant Black when he learned from Anya the Doppler that they can charge up their suits using the energy signature of the Radiant. Considering that their own charging mechanism was lagging behind, he decided to hunt down Radiant Black and entice him into a battle so that he could charge his suit and gear. Being absolutely ruthless and cold-blooded, Excel destroyed 3 fast food outlets, and his attacks were on such a major scale it also managed to topple 3 buildings, which left 8 people hospitalized. Having gone on a rampage throughout the city, successfully garnering media attention, Excel directly challenged Radiant Black to come and fight him. Seeing this on the news, Marshall makes his way over to Excel, and once he arrives, the two of them get into a heated debate where Excel demands that Radiant Black charge his suit. Upon refusing, a fight breaks out between the two of them, and Radiant Black easily overpowers Excel to the point that he is able to strip the villain of his power suit and leaves him wounded and incapacitated. However, Excel survived his encounter with Radiant Black and was transferred to a hospital by local authorities. He later teams up with the rest of the villains in issue number 16 to form the Fab Five, which includes Shift, Sheer, Doppler, Mecha, and himself. This explosive villain joined in the battle against Radiant Black, but was last seen escaping the scene of battle with Sheer once Shift was beaten up by Nathan and Marshall. Sheer. Sheer is a sword-wielding villain introduced to readers in issue number 14 of Radiant Black. Sheer, whose real name is Lucas, is your run-off-the-mill crypto bro who is obsessed with everything that has anything to do with cryptocurrency and NFTs. In fact, he is referred to as a crypto terrorist in this issue, which means he was doing more than simply putting money into crypto and was involved in illegal activities. His villain persona also has a strong resemblance to Deathstroke. As we can see in this issue, he creates his own NFTs, proclaiming the demise of Radiant Black, and uses extremely douchey phrases like Sigma Grindset to describe things. Contrasting his nauseating personality, Costa and Forgato create Shear's villain's suit with a lot of care. Shear is seen with a stylish black and white suit and a pair of glowing energy swords, heightening parallels to Deathstroke. However, despite all his talk of crypto and using the internet to make money, he's actually dumb enough to not mask his location using a VPN. Thus, when his NFT about killing Radiant Black goes viral, it is all too easy for Marshall to track him down and confront him. Radiant Black storms into Shear's lair as he practices his moves with his two swords. He's then easily taken out in battle against Radiant Black. However, you can never keep the bad guys down for too long, and he too returns in issue number 16 when all the villains team up to hunt down Radiant Black. In fact, he is the one that suggests using data from one of their drones that captured Radiant Black's fighting style to figure out his weaknesses and take him down. He is also the technical support during this entire mission, flying his drone and following Radiant Black. He also joins in the fight when Nathan shows up to save Marshall, but at the very end, when he sees that the Fab Five had lost, he stealthily escapes the scene along with Excel. This does not mean that we have seen the last of Shear. It is possible that the creators will bring him back once again, considering that this character is one that is a close friend and confidant of Shift. Riley and Mecha. Mecha is a gigantic battlesuit likely created from all the alien technology that the group of mercenaries had access to. This battlesuit is seemingly created from gunmetal and is a shiny gray armor that almost gives it a tank-like appearance. Since it is a suit, it is worn by Riley, one of the founders of the YouTube channel Epic Front that he started with his friend Jace. However, they were not regular YouTubers and were actually involved in a clandestine operation in which they, working in tandem with Shift, were renting out supersuits to various villains, including Excel, Doppler, and even Shear. Riley was not a fan of Radiant Black and also needed the radiant energy to power the fuel cells for their villain suits, and thus went all out in his battle against the hero. The size difference in their fight was awfully evident, and Mecha pummeled poor Marshall like he was nothing but a sack of potatoes. This battlesuit was also immune to all the Radiant's powers and effects, and thus was pretty much indestructible. This posed a major problem for Marshall, who, despite his best efforts, was not able to take down Mecha. Mecha beat up Marshall, which left him immobilized and terribly injured. However, before he could kill Marshall and take his Radiant, Nathan showed up. Using his Radiant powers, he was able to fend them off, and the epic battle ended with Riley's mech suit completely wrecked. However, knowing his tenacity, he's likely to show up once again in a villainous role as the series progresses. Gigantic Robot Assassin. A massive robot appears in Brazil at the beginning of issue number 19, hovering above the people, seemingly suspended in thin air. It is quite reminiscent of the giant singing planet heads from Rick and Morty, and sends people into a panic. As authorities try and figure it out, Radiant Black and Radiant Pink reach Brazil to investigate, and somehow the robot is activated by their presence. Likely triggered into action by their unique Radiant energy signature, the hovering robot egg turns into a gigantic Titan robot with two glowing red dots on its mask. This robot has the ability to shoot beams out of its hands and storms into battle with all its might. However, Radiant Pink, who is able to create portals the gigantic robot into the ocean, seemingly drowning it. However, this robot assassin comes right back, emerging from the water and wreaking havoc in Wisconsin. What ensues is a tough battle, but Radiant Red shows up and saves the day in her attack robot form, taking down the gigantic robot with surprising ease. The robot literally falls apart, and all that is left of it are bits and pieces. This might be the last we see of him, but probably not the last time our heroes have to battle an alien robot. Considering that this series is an ongoing one, we can only assume that more villains are yet to come. However, the ones that have been featured in the series so far are all super cool, starting out from design to story. It might be a little frustrating since the villains are largely kept under wraps and not much is known about their identities, but the mystery has its own charm. Radiant Black's story is just taking shape. Keep reading to know what happens next. Which one is your favorite Radiant Black villain? Tell us in the comment section below. And if you like the content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.